Based on Federal Reserve numbers, no generation has worked more than Gen Z.
The average person in America under the age of 35 will never be able to afford a home.
My Gen Z students know that they are absolutely cooked.
Nobody talks about the level of disappointment it feels as an older Gen Zer to have done everything right and still get nothing.
Man, they told us that we worked hard, played by the rules, stayed out of trouble, that everything would be fine. They told us to get good grades, go to college, take on some debt even, and then eventually, we hope that stability would follow us, eventually within that time. But that was all a complete lie. Gen Z did not fail America, okay? America failed Gen Z. I'm 24 years old, okay? And if you are a Gen Zer like myself, you would then understand that we have grown up watching the rules change in real time. We were kids during 9/11, teenagers during the Great Recession, and we are now adults during a global pandemic. Every major moment of our lives came with instability baked into it, right? No recovery period, no reset, just crisis after crisis after crisis. We were told that college was our ticket too, but now we're out here buried under student loan debt for degrees that barely keep up with the rent. There's literal people out here with doctorate degrees working at Amazon. We were also told to save money as well, but the wages out here are stagnated while housing prices have doubled, even tripled, even quadrupled at times. And we were also told to hustle more than anything. And that's what we all did. We got multiple jobs, side gigs. We even had to get into content creation, freelancing, only to be told that we are lazy because we won't work 60 hours a week for burnout wages. And let's talk about housing for a second too. Owning a home used to be normal. It used to be normal, but now it's a fantasy. Rent eats up half of our paycheck. Mortgages require incomes most people our age will never see in our lives, bro. We might as well forget about owning a home. I'm so serious. And then politics. We inherited a system designed decades ago, run by people who will never live long enough to see the consequences of their decisions. So yeah, we are angry. Gen Z is angry, not because we are entitled, but because we are promised a future, yet we're handed survival instead. We're not delaying adulthood because we want to either. We are delaying it because the entry fee keeps on rising. We don't hate work, we hate being exploited. We don't hate America, we hate being gaslit into believing that this is the best it gets. But here's the part that they don't expect out of us. We see right through the bullcrap, okay? We question everything. And I mean everything. We don't worship corporations. We don't blindly trust institutions that failed us. And we are not afraid to say that this system is broken, it needs to change, or we are going somewhere else. Because if an entire generation realizes that the game is rigged, the next step isn't silence, it's change.
Y'all, I'm only 25 years old, but I have been mad my whole life because very rarely has there been anything to look forward to. And I feel like when I was in school, I still had hope. But now, as an adult, and even having more knowledge and ways to navigate the world, I don't feel any sense of hope at all, or a purpose, or something motivating to keep doing what I have to do in order to survive. Because the entry to get into a job is horrible. The amount of jobs available is horrible. Even if you get a job, a lot of people are getting layoffs. You never have the security. But, okay, the entry, they're paying pennies to start. And then it's okay, you just gotta work your way up. Okay, cool, right? Whatever. Sucks, but, people say that they also did it. Okay. But then the boomers aren't leaving. The older people are not retiring. And it's either because they can't let go of the power, or they genuinely can't because they cannot afford to retire. So you're telling me I'm going to spend several years in the same position, and all I'm doing is working so that I can have a place to sleep at night, or a place to be at if I'm not at work, and I'm only working to pay off a car that I'm required to have. But I don't care what y'all say, bus, this and that. A lot of our communities do not have the best bus systems. What would take me 15-20 minutes to get to will take an hour plus to get to with a bus. So we're paying off cars, but we're paying off cars to get to that job. To get to that job, or to buy basic necessities like groceries, because again, not everything is walkable, not everything is bikeable or whatever. And we're also using that money to pay for our car insurance, to pay for car maintenance, for gas. And if it's not going towards that, it's going towards food or clothes or medical, dental. Like, I'm wearing $6,000 on my face right now. And that's not because I wanted nice teeth. It's not because I wanted straight teeth. I have actual functional issues. And that's basically it. That's it. Because if you want to spend on something different, if you want to go on vacation, if you want like to indulge a little bit, it's going to go straight on credit cards. And then you have to work to obviously pay that off. So then you're just never ahead. So yeah, you're literally just working, and then you're using that money to survive, but will never get to like progress. A lot of us are only surviving because we are living with parents, or we have some type of support system or like something. But I mean I guess we're the lucky ones in a way. Lucky if you want to put it that way, because obviously there's people that don't have that support system. But regardless of like the situation that we're in right now, very rarely do I know anybody that has a home. And if they have a home, again, it's because they had parents or they had family members where they were able to inherit that home or like sell them that home or something. And retiring is out the question. Like I feel like for our generation, like how everything is going, I feel like retiring is out the question. And if you want like assistance or support, the only way is if you stay poor. But then if you stay poor and then you try to like build yourself up, they take all of that away. But then you can't even build, like you're stuck. Like, yeah, you built up, but like this much. And then without that support, you can't keep building either. And don't even get me started on those of us that have like chronic pain, chronic illness, and that came about from like this society, chronic stress, chronic anxiety, chronic depression that affects our physical and like our physical being and ability to like thrive in this world too. Not to mention our political climate. Like if you're brown or you're black or you're anything but the color of paper, you're like, your life is so much harder. And I feel like the only way to cope is to like make peace with this life. But I'm not doing that. But like, yeah. It's so sad. It's so sad.
Does anybody else want to leave America like really, really soon? Because I just feel like it's not gonna get better. You know, just this whole system that we're supposed to follow, it's not for me. It's not meant for me, and I just can't really do it. Like in America, it's just work, grind. You know, people are working fucking 80-hour weeks. People have to get side hustles, you know, working more than 12 hours a day. Like, this shit is crazy. And then Gen Z, we can't buy a home. You know, people can barely afford groceries. People are having to have fucking roommates, you know, sacrificing your mental health and your privacy. And it's like, for what? Like, people are still working their asses off, and it's not getting them nowhere. Like, it has to be somewhere else that is better, that actually works. Like, our nervous systems in the US are like basically fried. Like stress, you know, autoimmune diseases, like the food. It's like this shit is just normal here, and I can't get with it. Like, this just can't be it for me. Like,
nobody talks about the level of disappointment it feels as an older Gen Zer to have done everything right and still get nothing. I'm talking about working hard, getting the degrees, following the exact plan that all the older generations told us to follow to obtain stability, and realizing that we are not getting that life anymore. Like, as a matter of fact, that life doesn't even exist. Like, I grew up being told, you feel me, go to school, don't get pregnant, don't chase after no boys, do this, do that. And I did. And I was fully convinced that, you know, I was going to graduate, I was going to get a job, a house, travel a little bit, max out my 401k. You feel me? You know, the version of adulthood that made all the struggling worth it. But instead, everything just feels super expensive, super unattainable, and just like unrealistic. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm still extremely grateful for the life that I have. I'm still very blessed, and I'm glad that I did the things that I did. But I am finding myself constantly mourning the life that I thought I was going to have.
My Gen Z students know that they are absolutely cooked when it comes to this economy, this job market. They talk about it all the time. And I think partly being that self-aware of what's going on, whether it's through their parents or social media or whatever it might be, but knowing that the US is heading into dismal times is really where a lot of this lack of motivation to do things is coming from. I often hear it in class when we talk about many different things, but the reoccurring underlying issue is they know that the future that they're heading into is not great. And because of that, I can see some of the systemic underlying lack of motivation, which is just unfortunate, but that's where I think we're at.
These kids, and that was something I never thought I'd be able to do. I got lucky enough to land a job that I built a career, you know what I mean? But these kids are coming out of high school knowing that college doesn't work, knowing that anything that they fucking do in life is going to be a menial job unless they become a world famous TikToker or YouTuber or video game fucking champion. You know what I mean? What other fucking job and career is there?
Yeah.
Right. And then now they see a government that is completely corrupt because now you can't hide the corruption like you used to. And I just think it's so fucking cool that this generation is like, first of all, what are we going to lose if we fucking lose? We already have nothing. Like this government, you know, I know I'm old enough to know that the government has never really provided fucking help for people. It's a Band-Aid on a fucking, on a gunshot wound, essentially. You know what I mean? But these kids, they know from a very early age that this place is fucked, especially with the AI, the lack of jobs, the fact that college costs fucking more than a house most of the time, and you get out and you have nothing to show for it. And then you find out that your fucking government is completely fucking corrupt and fucked up, and they're starting to be like, what the fuck do we have to lose to do this? I mean, why would we not, right? Like, I had a little bit of hope in my generation that I think we're the last generation of like, you know, if you work hard and you go to college, you can get something, you know what I mean? And that's how I lived my life a little bit.
Average person in America under the age of 35 will never be able to afford a home. Ever. America has failed us all.
So, I didn't realize how bad the job economy was until I became unemployed because of a car accident I got into because of the job, and I got paid from them. But since then, that happened about 4 months ago. I've been applying for different jobs. It got to the point I applied, everything happened up in Atlanta, the accident. So I moved back down here to Tampa because I couldn't find a job up there. The economy, nobody was hiring. Came down here, I'm like, oh, I know a couple of jobs I can work at that's guaranteed to give me a job. They have this thing in Port in Tampa where you can pick up day laborers, pick up work easy. They just pick you up and it's always work. There's about 15 people waiting to get picked up to work, and I'm over here like, bro, McDonald's rejected my application. Not rejected, but like I did the interview, but I haven't heard nothing back. I legit can't find a job. I have applied for, if I had to guess, I say somewhere around 30 to 36 applications online, but physically, like going there within a mile radius of my area, nobody's hiring. I done went up the block, down the block. Everybody's saying no, nobody's hiring. How do you expect me to have income and pay off government debt if nobody's giving jobs? Now, you see what I really thought people meant by that unemployment. People, oh, they're just not looking for jobs. No. Buddy, I have security license and a DOT license. I'm kind of certified to drive trucks, but not the semi trucks, the smaller trucks. But like, I'm certified to drive. I'm struggling with those 2 certifications under my belt. Woo. But like, my main goal is like, I want to move to LA to pursue my acting a little bit, because like I did pretty good in Atlanta, but it's like I want to expand more in LA. But it's like, I can easily get a job. Let me just go find one. No. This job economy is actually horrible now. Like, anybody having a job is pretty lucky at this point. I'm just like, bro, what type of reality are we in? Like, y'all keep saying America's great, but like, McDonald's just didn't want to hire me. This is a great economy? Huh. Interesting.
60% of Americans could not come up with $1,000 for an emergency. People do not have emergency funds. Almost 70% of Americans say that money is their primary source of anxiety. Buy now, pay later services like Klarna and Afterpay are on the rise, and people are using them primarily on Instacart and DoorDash for groceries. People are using payment plans for food. 1 in 4 Americans have saved nothing for retirement. Auto loan debt, so for cars, has reached an all-time high. It's at $1.3 trillion. And credit card debt is also at an all-time high. So when most Americans are sharing the same economic struggles, is it still just user error? Is the answer still work harder, or just budget, or pull yourself up by your bootstrap? Or can we actually listen to the trends and patterns for once and realize that this is entirely systemic?
Gen Z is the hardest working generation in American history, and if they were born in the 1950s, about 1/3 of them would be multimillionaires and retired by the age of 40. And this is not just my opinion, this is what the raw numbers say. Based on Federal Reserve numbers, no generation has worked more than Gen Z. In the 1960s, households worked on average about 38.5 total hours per week, compared to Gen Z two-income households that are working 85 to 90 hours per week. And in addition to that, 55% of them have reported working some kind of side hustle or second job. And so the question is, if they work so hard, why are they so poor? And it comes down to 4 main factors: real estate prices, student loans, healthcare costs, and transportation costs. Let's talk about real estate. In the 1960s, a typical single-family house would cost between 1.5 and 2 times the median household income, but that was only one person working. Now with 2 people working, it's over 5 times that household income. Meaning if we put a typical Gen Z family with 2 incomes into a time machine back to the 1960s, they would be able to pay off a median single-family house by the time they turn 25. They also wouldn't have student loans, there would be negligible healthcare costs, and cars would have been cheaper, so would gas. And so they would be able to save an additional $4,000 a month that they would be able to put towards retirement. Compounded over 15 years from ages 25 to 40 with 8% annual return, this would mean that the typical Gen Z household would be at about $1.4 million in net worth by the age of 40 and have a paid off house at the same exact time, meaning they could probably retire in their 40s. And so what this says to me is that the US economy as we know it is being supported by the excess work of Gen Z households. If they didn't work as hard as they were working right now, real estate prices would collapse. There would be no one to buy equities, and so the stock market would go down. And so this notion that Gen Z isn't working hard and all of these memes that go back and forth in Facebook is completely nonsensical to me. They are the hardest working generation. Anyway, I hope that's of value to you. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you all on the next video.
We just want to have the same opportunities that our parents or grandparents had. A lot of kids aren't getting married, myself included. I'm 23, I'm not in no rush to get married, but a lot of people just feel like, wow, why would I get married when I can't even get into a house and I'll be suffering with my wife and living in some junky apartment. You see the TikToks of, I love the TikToks of like the old America, when you see just people out in the street with their family and their kids and the epic music, the American flags. And then I hate when I see the next scene is when you're seeing just people strung out in fentanyl on the street corners, and you're seeing people get in battles over race and religion. It's just like, that's not what this is all about.
I know several young men right now in their mid-20s who are living at home. They have full-time jobs. The rest of us are living in apartments. I get married in 4 months. We are not buying a house. I saw someone on Twitter call this permanent adolescence. That's exactly what it is. And it's going to get worse. Donald Trump just said he wants people that already own homes to see their home values go up. That's sounding a lot like I will never own a home. When we enrich boomers and Gen Xers at the expense of Gen Z, we are severing our ability to leave the nest. Why do you think people are having kids so late? I'm a capitalist, but I will tell you this is exactly why democratic socialist figures like Zohran Mamdani are gaining so much popularity, because at least someone is listening to us. The future I think a lot of us see for ourselves is that we continue to live in boxes, AI replaces all of our jobs, and we have to live off some stimmy check from the government. That's bleak.